Some machines vanish without a trace. Others are forgotten in dusty barns. Their names erased as companies disappeared and fields changed forever. Buried beneath mergers and decades of rust, the 10 rarest vintage tractors reveal a secret history of lost innovation and survival against the odds. Only a handful of these machines still exist. Some survived mass scrapings, while others eluded collectors for generations. How did such groundbreaking designs end up nearly disappearing altogether? To understand their fate, you need to see which rare legends made this list and why their stories almost fell silent. In the years after the Second World War, fields across America grew quieter as the names of small tractor makers slipped away. The story of the Gibson Model D begins on family farms where innovation was as important as rainfall. Gibson, a company based in Colorado, built compact machines for orchards and vegetable growers, tractors designed to slip between tight rows and turn on a dime. With a maximum of 12 horsepower, the Model D was never meant for the endless plains. Instead, it found its place in fruit groves and market gardens, where maneuverability mattered more than brute strength. Production numbers stayed low from the start. Gibson never scaled up like the giants in Illinois or Iowa. When farm equipment conglomerates swept through the industry, small brands like Gibson were often absorbed or simply faded out. Their tooling sold off and their records lost. Today, only a handful of Model Ds survive. Most were left behind in barns or forgotten under tarps, their engines silent for decades. Collectors who find one often face a scavenger hunt, tracking down rare parts, consulting old manuals, and swapping stories with fellow enthusiasts across state lines. The Rock Island Hyder C tells a similar story, but from an earlier era. Built in the 1920s by the Rock Island Plow Company, the Hyder C was a response to the changing needs of Midwestern soil. Farmers wanted a machine that could handle both cultivation and planting in tight spaces, especially as crop rotations diversified between the wars. Rock Island's engineers answered with a tractor that featured a novel cultivating gear system, allowing precise work between rows. But the 1920s and the 1930s were hard years for small manufacturers. As larger companies expanded, Rock Island struggled to keep up. The firm was eventually absorbed, and its name disappeared from the market. Surviving Hyder Cs are rare, not just because of age, but because so few were built to begin with, and even fewer escaped the scrap drives of wartime. Tracing one today often means following a paper trail of serial numbers through old county ledgers, auction records, and the memories of implement dealers who remember when every farm had its own story. For both Gibson and Rock Island, rarity was never part of the plan. These tractors were built to work, not to be museum pieces. Their disappearance reflects a broader pattern. How local brands vanished, agriculture consolidated, leaving only clues for those willing to dig through history's dust. The few that remain are reminders of a time when every region had its own solutions, and every tractor wore the mark of its maker. In the depths of the Great Depression, mobility became a lifeline for small farms scattered across the Midwest. The Avery Road Track, introduced in the 1930s under the B.F. Avery name, answered a challenge that was as much about getting to market as it was about working the land. At a time when most tractors were heavy, slow, and tied to the fields, this lightweight crawler offered something new, a machine that could handle row crops and, when needed, roll down the county road without the need for a trailer. The Avery Road Track's design was a study in practical engineering. Its compact frame and low weight allowed it to slip between rows of corn and beans, tackling muddy fields with the steady grip of its crawler tracks. Unlike the lumbering steam engines of decades past, this tractor was built for farms that could not afford downtime. The track system distributed weight evenly, reducing soil compaction, while the streamlined body made it easier to clean and maintain after long days in the dirt. For farmers facing unpredictable weather and thin profit margins, every advantage counted. What set the Avery Road Track apart from other crawlers was its rare combination of agility and roadworthiness. Most crawlers of the era were confined to the fields, but Avery's engineers designed this model with the flexibility to travel between jobs. That meant a small farm could share a single tractor across multiple plots, or haul produce to the edge of town without a team of horses or a second vehicle. The ability to cross from field to road and back again gave small operations a fighting chance in a decade defined by scarcity. Very few of these machines were ever built. Avery's production records from the pre-war years are sparse, and after the company's eventual merger into Minneapolis-Moline, the road track faded quietly from dealer lots. Surviving examples today are almost never found at auction. Instead, their stories are pieced together from faded photographs, scattered advertisements, and the occasional museum catalog. Researchers at agricultural museums have sometimes traced the path of a road track through county ownership ledgers, old handwritten volumes that list farm equipment transfers by serial number. In Rarest, a tractor's journey from one family to another is documented in these ledgers, offering a glimpse into decades of hard use and careful maintenance. Each rediscovered road track is a testament to the persistence of local historians and the passion of collectors determined to keep these machines from slipping away entirely. The Avery Road Track was never a headline grabber, but its quiet innovation bridged the gap between field utility and the design flair that we would define later decades. Its rarity today speaks to a moment in history when necessity drove invention, and when even the most practical machines could leave a lasting impression on the land they served. Silver King. Model 42 tractors first caught attention not for their horsepower, but for their dazzling appearance. In the late 1930s, while most farm machines wore drab greens, reds, or faded gray, Silver King rolled out off the line, coated in bright metallic paint. The company behind the name, Fate Root Heath, of Plymouth, Ohio, aimed to stand out in a crowded field. The Model 42 was their answer, a tractor that promised more than just good looks. It offered a surprising blend of speed and utility, reaching road speeds up to 40 miles per hour. thanks to a nimble transmission and a lightweight chassis. For farmers who needed to travel between fields or haul produce down country lanes, this was a revelation. The silver paint was not just marketing, it was a badge of pride, signaling innovation and a willingness to break with tradition. But the Silver King's rare quality was not only about style. Production numbers stayed modest, capped by the company's limited reach compared to giants like John Deere and International Harvester. Most Model 42s worked in small pockets of the Midwest, where their agility and speed were prized by growers with scattered plots. Surviving examples are fiercely coveted at auctions, with collectors drawn to the tractor's unique blend of aesthetics and performance. Stories circulate of heated bidding wars at vintage shows, where a well-preserved Silver King can command attention and a premium price simply by rolling into the sunlight. The combination of limited runs, striking design, and local loyalty means that only a handful of these silver machines are left, each one a testament to a time when branding could be as bold as the engineering beneath the hood. While Silver King turned heads with paint and pace, Shepherd Diesel took a different path, quietly rewriting the rules of farm power. The Shepherd SD3 emerged in the 1940s. It was a compact workhorse built around a 3-cylinder diesel engine. At a time when most American tractors still burned gasoline, Shepherd dared to go diesel, promising better fuel economy and longer engine life. This was a gamble in an era when diesel parts were hard to find and few mechanics understood the technology. Yet for those who took the risk, the SD3 delivered. Its heavy-duty build and tight turning radius made it ideal for small farms, orchards, and even vineyards, where space was tight and reliability mattered more than raw speed. The SD3's scarcity comes down to distribution and timing. Shepherd lacked the dealer networks of bigger brands, making the tractors hard to find outside a handful of states. Owners today often scour the globe for replacement parts, swapping tips and stories in online forums and at collector meets. Restoring a Shepherd SD3 is a badge of honor among diesel enthusiasts who appreciate the mechanical quirks and the engineering courage it took to launch a diesel tractor for family farms long before it was common. For every Silver King gleaming at a show, there is a Shepherd quietly rumbling to life in a collector's shed, proof that innovation in agriculture has always come in many forms, sometimes loud and proud, sometimes quietly ahead of its time. By the early 1900s, American agriculture was standing at a crossroads. The age of steam was fading, but the future was still uncertain. Rural roads echoed with the clatter of horse-drawn plows, while in machine shops across the Midwest, a handful of engineers set out to build something entirely new. It was in Charles City, Iowa, that Charles Hart and Charles Parr introduced a machine that would change everything. The Hart-Parr No. 1, built in 1903. This was not just a new piece of equipment. It was the first to bear the name tractor, a word Hart-Parr coined to describe their gasoline-powered, self-propelled machine. Weighing in at over 7 tons, the number 1 could deliver 30 horsepower, enough to replace a team of 20 horses. Its open crankcase and exposed gears looked crude by modern standards, but for farmers used to the hiss of steam and the pace of mules, it was a revelation. The promise of internal combustion quickly caught the attention of other innovators. While Hart Parr's machines were massive and expensive, they proved that gasoline could power the next generation of American farms. By the 1910s, competition was fierce. Dozens of companies, some little more than machine sheds, rushed to build their own tractors. Each tried to solve the same problem: how to make a machine small and affordable enough for the average farm, but strong enough to break the prairie sod. Dealers became the lifeline for these early brands, crisscrossing rural counties with demonstration rigs and promises of easy starts on cold mornings. Their efforts seeded a new market, but only the best designs survived. The Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company, based in Iowa, introduced the Waterloo Boy in 1914. Unlike its heavier rivals, the Waterloo Boy used a simple 2-cylinder engine and a straightforward transmission. It was reliable, relatively easy to repair, and priced within reach of family farmers. As the First World War ended, demand for efficient plowing soared. The Waterloo Boy found its way onto more and more fields, earning a reputation for toughness and simplicity. In 1918, John Deere, already a giant in plows and implements, recognized the potential and bought Waterloo outright. This acquisition gave Deere a foothold in the tractor market and set the stage for decades of innovation. The Waterloo Boy's run ended in 1924, replaced by the John Deere Model D. But its influence lingered. Surviving Waterloo Boys are now prized by collectors not just for their rarity, but for their role in launching one of the most enduring names in farm machinery. These early combustion tractors did more than replace horses. They sparked a wave of experimentation as companies large and small raced to refine engine designs, transmissions, and implements. Some gambled on new fuels or drive systems. Others tested oddball layouts or specialty attachments. The result was a period of wild creativity, one that produced both dead ends and lasting breakthroughs. Each success and failure added to the collective knowledge, shaping the machines that would follow. The Hart Parr and the Waterloo Boy stand as milestones in this journey, reminders that progress in the field often begins with bold bets in the workshop. As the dust settled, the survivors of this era set the foundation for the rare and remarkable prototypes still to come. On a quiet stretch of Minnesota farmland, a lineup of machines waited for the auctioneer's call. Among them sat a Massey Harris 44C experimental crawler, one of only 25 ever built, and now one of just 5 known to survive. The 44C was never meant for mass production. It was a post-war experiment, a bold attempt to adapt Massey's popular row crop tractor for the roughest fields. Engineers replaced the wheels with heavy steel tracks, hoping to create a machine that could handle mud and steep slopes where ordinary tractors bogged down. Prototypes like this were tested on real farms, their performance logged in thick factory notebooks. But when the time came to ramp up production, the world had changed. Wartime shortages lingered, and company priorities shifted. The 44C project was abandoned before it left the prototype stage. Most units were quietly scrapped, their parts recycled into other machines or melted down for steel drives. These are rare survivors that tell a story of what might have been. Survivors like the one auctioned from Gerald Fank's collection carry the scars of hard use and long storage. Bidders at estate sales know what is at stake. These are relics of a path not taken, machines that nearly vanished before their story began. The auction floor grows tense as collectors recognize the rarity before them, each hoping to preserve a piece of lost engineering. Survivors are the living proof of decisions never made. The Alice Chalmers model WF High Crop faced an even more abrupt end. In 1941, as the United States shifted to a wartime economy, Alice Chalmers halted production of this tall, narrow tractor designed for row crop cultivation. The order came without warning. Factory workers were reassigned, parts bins emptied, and the few finished WFT high crops were shipped to dealers or tucked away in company storage. With production records cut short by the war, it is impossible to say exactly how many survived. Each rediscovered WF is a reminder of how quickly outside forces can erase even the most promising designs. Where most tractors faded with time, these models were cut down in their prime, leaving collectors to piece together their history from fragments, auction catalogs, and the memories of those who built them. The impact of wartime choices is still visible in the machines we find today. A rumor once drifted through the collector world. Somewhere in the English countryside, a single Fordson E27N row crop prototype had survived the culls and scrap drives that erased its siblings. The story drew Mary Callahan, a determined collector from Ohio, across the Atlantic in 2003. She followed a trail of serial numbers, old dealer invoices, and whispered hints from farm auctions. The search ended at a muddy estate sale, where she outbid two museums to bring the only known E27N prototype into her care. Its narrow stance and adjustable axles hinted at a design meant for precise planting. But the machine was never put into production. Today it stands alone, a one-off survivor, its lineage cut short by changing markets and the relentless march of progress. If the Fordson prototype is a story of survival against the odds, the Minneapolis Moline UDLX comfort tractor is a story of ambition ahead of its time. Built between 1938 and 1939, fewer than 150 UDLX tractors left the factory, and fewer than 10 fully restored examples exist today. The UDLX was unlike anything else on the market, a tractor designed not just for work, but for comfort and style. Its fully enclosed cab came with a heater, a radio, a glove body, sun visors, and even a clock mounted on the rearview mirror. Operators could drive to town at 40 miles per hour, shielded from dust and rain, with rubber mats underfoot and fabric upholstery on the seats. Yet this luxury came at a price. The UDLX cost nearly twice as much as its competitors, and most farmers could not justify the expense during the final years of the Depression. Many units spent decades hidden in barns, their cab glass clouded and radios silent, until collectors tracked them down piece by piece. Today, a restored UDLX draws crowds at any show. Its streamlined shape and automotive details a reminder of a moment when the future of farming looked like something out of a dream. Each year, fewer of these rare machines escape the scrap heap. As global collectors race to preserve what little remains, vintage tractors become living artifacts, reminders that innovation can vanish as quickly as it appears. Their survival challenges us to value ingenuity before it is lost for good. What relics of progress might we overlook today? Share your thoughts or stories in the comments below.